With an entire day left in Iron Banner and plenty of kick-ass weapons to get, sure many of you are wondering, well Haznap, what weapon should I prioritize picking up? Well, let's find out. First up, we have the Clever Dragon Pulse Rifle, which is a Grasp of Malik and Walt's archetype of Pulse. And let me just say, this thing kicks ass. It is one of the best pulses in the game. Debatably one of the best weapons in the game. Now, if you want a good grasp or you want a good waltz, this is another way to get one of those weapons. And I picked up a god roll myself. I got a stability perk, high caliber rounds, and head seeker. So needless to say, mine shreds. I used it on 3 flawless cards this week and in scarab rounds, and I ended up picking up scarab using this thing. So dab flex, bless up, Orange Jesus. All in all, if you can get this thing with a stability perk, like decent stability, then honestly it's worth using. If you can get good stability and high caliber rounds, then you should be a very, very happy person. This thing will just destroy. Next up, we have the Unbent Tree, which is basically a shittier doctrine. It's just really hard to get a good roll for it. And on top of that, there are plenty of other auto rifles that have the exact same archetype as this, that draw from the Crucible, that are being sold. You can just find them everywhere. And if you already have a doctrine, then I would just use that. Like, this thing it's really hard to get a high stability roll, and that's what you have to have on a weapon like this. But one thing you consider is that I literally see like 5 of these things drop every single match of Iron Banner, so it's not going to be hard to get one if you really, really want one. Next up, we have the Lingering Song, which is the hand cannon, and it is an extremely high impact ill will style of hand cannon, and it's actually really good if you can hit your shots, but it has an extremely high skill gap. So if you're not really an experienced hand cannon user, I might stray away from this thing. However, it's really good with low impact snipers. That way, if you get a body shot, you can easily just one tap them. Say you're using Defiance of Yasmin or something of that archetype, this thing will go really well with it. And if you happen to be playing Iron Banner and you're using this thing, or you want to, well, if you are 10 light above, somebody else, you can 2-tap them if they have like medium armor, maybe a little bit lower. So it's pretty damn crazy how powerful this thing hits. Last primary we have is the Distant Star, and this thing is basically just a legendary Mida, and surprisingly good, and it's actually really, really solid with a good roll. I managed to pick up a pretty nasty roll on this thing. It has good stability, good range, and yeah, mine had really strong range. That's what I remember about it. And honestly, if you love Rock and Mida, but say you want to use Galahorn or Truth or some other exotic, then I would really consider using this thing as a secondary, or as a replacement for it. But the most insane thing about this is its fucking hitboxes are just stupid broken, as you will see in these clips. So yeah, needless to say, this thing's fucking dumb if you get it and you really like a Mida. you could definitely pull off using this thing. I was able to get some pretty solid games using it. Now for the secondaries, we have the Proudspire shotgun. And if you can get this thing with full auto, it is the best PvE shotgun in the game. I'm calling it. Because it is identical to the Vanguard one you can get. Same extremely high rate of fire and dick impact. So, and I landed one with full auto. And oh my god, I love this thing so much. It is just a monster. So yeah, if you can land this thing with full auto, I would recommend leveling it up and using it in PvE. Like it just destroys bosses. Now we have the sniper rifle, which is the Laughing Heart and is basically a Defiance of Yasmin with less aim assist, a shitty reticule, and a much higher zoom. Now the reason why I hate the reticule so much is because it feels really inconsistent. Because it's like this T shape and you have to hit in the very center of this for it to, count as actually sniping them, and you feel like you're hitting them and it's just not touching them, and it's really frustrating weapon to use. But also I dropped sniping entirely with the Rise of Iron. In my opinion, it's just not worth it anymore. It's just too hard for such a little reward versus how easy it is to pick up shotgunning. So if you really like sniping and you really like Defiance of Yasmin archetypes, then, maybe this thing has a place in your arsenal, but honestly, you'd be better off using a number of other snipers, and honestly, just better off using a shotgun. And now we have the Blinding Blaze, which is the sidearm, and it's ass. Just like almost every other sidearm in the game. It's ass. Honestly, don't use it. Just don't. Lastly, we have the fusion rifle, and I have yet to see this thing drop. I didn't get out any of my packages. Two of my friends didn't get out any of their packages, and I've never seen one drop in a single game. So, from my understanding, this thing's pretty hard to get to drop, but I have gotten killed by a few of them, and it's okay, but it's nothing special. It's just another fusion rifle, honestly. You'd be better off just getting the one from Archon's Forge. Now, we have the heavy weapons, and first up is the rocket launcher, which is basically just a Tormund's Bellow, and I also have not seen a single one of these drop. And if you can get tripod and grenades and horseshoes roll on this thing, those two separate perks not in the same column, then this thing is actually really fucking good. I picked up that roll on my Tormund's Bellow, and this thing it kicks ass. So if you can get that, I would use this in almost any PvP engagement if you want to use a rocket launcher. Lastly, the LMG is essentially a zombie apocalypse, so definitely a strong weapon in both PvE and PvP. You can't go wrong with it, but it loses out to Quillam's Terminus in both activities, to be entirely honest. So yeah, that's my analysis of the Iron Banner weapons this time around. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and make sure to check out my last video if you did enjoy this one. It's a rundown of the Floating Garden Trials map if you're trying to squeeze in one last card. These tips, I guarantee, will clean up your team's playstyle. So yeah, thank you all so much if you made it this far. That's all I have for you guys today. Peace.